Spain plus Brexit. I voted for Brexit. Now it's harming me. Okay, well, watch this video. Keep in mind, I'm coming from a place where I have lived in UK for a few years. I still have family living over there. I know Spain pretty well. And, you know, if you want to learn more about this sort of thing, relocating, strategically finding the best option for you, I actually have a book dedicated to that's called Bugging Out and Relocating, where I did this analysis myself when I made these decisions and turned out well for me. So you can probably benefit from that. For the other aspects of survival preparedness, you have street survival skills and surviving the economic collapse. You definitely want to check those out for that kind of content. Let's get to this right away. 3 years on.
I was wrong.
Okay.
If we choose to leave the European Union, that France, Portugal, Germany, Spain, the rest would totally abide by supporting people like Lynn and the 118,000 other Brits who are living overseas.
Absolutely. 3 years ago, my co-host on the Sunday Roast, Max Rothspier, did a video on British migrants living in Spain who voted for Brexit and now regret it. And Chinese state television have caught up with him 3 years later. So I'm going to take us on a journey through Spain and its history with Britain before and after Brexit.
Oriella Costa, as they call it. It's all ex-British.
If you walk about, you hear a lot of English spoken, do you?
Yes, definitely. Much more than Spanish.
Orihuela Costa has been likened to a giant retirement village.
Yeah, kind of was, yeah.
Near identical houses, home to perhaps one of the biggest concentrations of expats.
For you guys in the United States, this would be like Costa del Sol, south of Spain, would be like the Miami of Europe, right? Not only UK, and more on that later, but pretty much older people. If you had the option of moving around, you would go live there because of weather, lifestyle, restaurants, affordable, nice places to go out and have fun, eat, and so on. And yeah, again, kind of like in Florida, you have the younger people that travel for holidays too. But it used to be that it was pretty much ideal location for British expats. Let's call it what it actually is. That's migration. You're an immigrant to a different country. The more fancy word is expat. But given that you were within the European Union, that you had that special condition of you're not really a 100% immigrant because you are moving within those rules of free movement of people and goods, and you have the rights that other citizens have. If you are a British person in Spain within the European Union, you have the same rights as any other Spanish person in his own country. The same would work the other way around. Any Spanish, Italian, French, German, or whatever the hell it is that goes to UK, you had the right to live there like any other Brit. That was something that they didn't like so much. But it's interesting. Well, I mean, the guy explains it rather well himself.
Just like the weather, don't we? It's really nice.
Yeah, they like the weather.
20 degrees.
I know, yeah. Can't believe it, yeah.
But dispositions here are not as sunny as they once were.
I think you're starting to get the picture. A lot of Brits, whilst we're in the European Union, were going over to Spain because it's frankly gorgeous, great weather, and it was relatively cheap, but also full of British migrants. Yet warnings were coming out about what would happen if the British decided to leave the EU, and these were completely poo-pooed by Brexiteers.
Well, if there's one thing that makes the retirement dream possible for so many expat pensioners, it's their entitlement to free healthcare in Spain, paid for by the UK under EU-wide reciprocal arrangements. But a few days ago, the UK government announced that in a no deal, that would stop. That safety net would be pulled away. And that was the moment that for a lot of people here, Brexit got very real.
Remember what he said at the beginning? No problems. Everything's fine. And yet, when we got to the actual stage of leaving, absolute panic was taking place in Spain, and no one over here was really talking about it.
Splendid isolation.
Dave England is not well, and he is worried.
Well, I've got Parkinson's, which was diagnosed a couple of years ago. I had a heart attack just before Christmas. I've generalised arthritis.
And how much is your medication costing?
Medication's probably costing around 600-700 euros a month.
600-700 euros a month. Try paying for that in the United States and let me know what that number comes up with. With the amount of medication this man is taking, 600-700 euros a month. That is without that's pretty much out of the pocket. This man no longer has the national insurance that people in Spain have, because he is, and this is one of the things that just it blows my mind. Why on earth would you think that you would retain the benefits of being just like any other citizen in a country where you're no longer that? If you are no longer part of that system, if you're no longer enjoying the same rights as the citizens of said country, what the fuck is wrong in your head that you just assume that you'll just keep on enjoying that? Why? What kind of ignorant bullshit is that? I get it that people have been tricked. I understand that. But you have to be pretty damn stupid to think that if this is like giving up citizenship, right? Assume that you're an American, British, Spanish, Italian, whatever country you want to think of. Let's say you give up your citizenship. You no longer have that American citizenship. What the hell makes you think that you'll keep enjoying the benefits of having American citizenship, having an American passport, if you no longer have that? It is idiotic, but a lot of people are just idiots.
So who will pay for Dave's care in a no-deal Brexit? The UK government is advising pensioners to take out private medical insurance. If it comes to a point where private medical insurance is what's needed, where does that leave you?
Out in the cold.
How could you possibly assume that a country, in this case Spain, will take care of the medical expense of an 80-year-old sick British dude that is no longer part of the economic, and basically he's no longer part of the same system? What makes these people think that they will take care of a guy that requires constant, expensive medical attention, especially at that age? The guy is old, and once you no longer have because you have to understand, you have the national insurance, like the free medical care that a lot of people don't quite understand. You have the insurance that pretty much everyone is entitled to, and then you have private healthcare, right? You can go for either. You can go for either one, but you still enjoy the privilege of having the public one, right? That one cannot be stripped away from you. You have public health care. If you want to have the private one, go for it. You can have that too. That's great. But it's not necessary. And for a lot of people in Spain, they just don't find a need to have that extra expense. But if you're outside the system, if you're no longer a citizen or the equivalent of, you will have to go to private. And imagine what will happen when you go as a 80-year-old sick as hell man asking for private insurance. How much will that cost a month? Just throw a number. I mean, they don't even need to give you insurance. I mean, it's not theirs. It's not their problem. It's not something that is a part of the national system it's not a public system that you have to provide. No, this is private. This is me saying, you know what, it just doesn't add up, sir. You're just too expensive for us. You will not be taking in most private medical insurance systems.
I've got no options there. I haven't slept properly in 2 years. I'll wake up sweating.
Let's also stop the drama. You have the option of go home, go back to your own country. But the man in this video mentions this sense of entitlement that these people have of, I'm living in another country. I am no longer part of that country's system. I actually voted to leave that system that granted me the benefit of living like any other citizen in this country. And I'm surprised by me having to go back home. Go home. You obviously feel better about going home and no longer being part of that European Union, expat, immigrant, whatever system you want to call it. You obviously voted to leave that. Go home. That's the only option you have left. And it's perfectly fine.
I wake up wondering what's going on. I'm terrified.
But remember, everything's fine with Brexit. Brexit's great, and Brexit has no wrong to it. That's what Michael Gove and all the others were saying, despite the fact they're having a mental and physical health impact on all those people living outside the UK.
We travel 4 hours southwest to the Costa del Sol, where campaign groups now spring up faster.
Let me know if you agree with me or not. You do not have a right to go to another country and live as a citizen when you're not one. You don't have the right to go to another country as a sick old person that will be a huge cost for the national healthcare system of another country. You don't have that right. That's not a right you have. You may apply for it. You may find a job. You may move there. You may ask for asylum and try your luck with that. Do whatever. But the idea, the entitlement idea of you going to another country and expecting people, the government from another country, to take care of your medical expense, it is beyond idiotic.
Than apartment blocks. How do you sum up the quality of the information that people here have, that expats have, about what is going to happen to them and their lives?
You want that in one word? Zero. We have had little to no information to be
Lady,
told.
it is
We
your
feel
responsibility.
totally abandoned here. We are over 300,000 Brits living in Spain alone.
Yeah.
And we just feel we're out of sight and out of mind.
And here's the British ambassador to come to the rescue and allay everyone's worries.
Why is it that you can't give people guarantees at this point about what happens in a no-deal situation to some fundamental things like healthcare, residency?
Well, because essentially, in a no-deal scenario, it's for the Spanish government
Of course.
to explain how they would intend to protect the rights of British nationals here in Spain in that scenario.
What rights is the Spanish government obligation? Where's the obligation of the Spanish government of dealing with a bunch of people that are no longer part of the same system? That is all on you. And people that did not bother doing that, it's on them.
One man stood up and said the government hasn't got a clue. He was cheered and applauded.
Well, he was also clearly against Brexit as well.
A classic Brexit trick. Ignore the facts and just go, he's against Brexit from the start, so he was always wrong.
Celebrate tonight as we've never done before the greatest moment in the modern history of our great nation.
Do you know that this man's kids have European citizenship because this man's wife is German? How rich is that, right? The guy telling you to give up a right that you inherently had from the moment most people, unless you're a certain age, most people were born with. You were convinced of giving up something that gave you a massive privilege, a massive window of options. The same man that convinced you to get rid of that because it was obviously a wonderful idea, he doesn't have to bother about that himself because his wife, his own kids will not have a problem at all. They have that passport.
So now we go to a post-Brexit UK. And this is what Dave, who voted for Brexit, had to say.
Retired at 65 as normal. As a lot of people, we're on a caravan site. There must be 650 caravans on our site alone.
Actually, looks like
beautiful place
shit.
to be, beautiful place to relax in. We're generally here mainly in a winter because of my health, as many others here are here for their health at our ages. In saying that, we like summer, we come here, we stay, in the summertime. Brexit itself, when it first started, it was going to be brilliant because I honestly believed that Britain should stay Britain and we run by ourselves.
And that's why I've included that clip from Michael Gove at the beginning, because it's just constant lies, and no one's taken account for this. No one's been sacked, no one's been forced to resign as a result of these lies, which you heard at the very beginning. And Dave just repeated those lies. He said that we had no control over what was going on in the EU. We were in the Parliament, we could have a say at the Council, we could also put influence in other ways, soft power. And yet, this lie was just pushed on the public, and people like Dave voted against his own interest.
Although I went home to vote to come out, and now would change my mind of what's happened. Nobody told us, nobody explained or probably thought about people like yourselves caravanning around Europe. There must be 500,000 people.
You're fucking caravanning around Europe. That's what you like doing, and you vote for Brexit? I mean, I can get it as someone that has look, I get it if you're like a 70-year-old man that has never left, Manchester and you vote for Brexit, okay, doesn't affect you, okay? You don't want to have, I mean, whatever is the case. I kind of get it if that's what you choose. Now, you being a person that likes moving around all over Europe and enjoying the benefits of not having to show any passport when you're moving around because you have that right, not having to worry about any kind of healthcare issue because you have the right to show up at any hospital all over Europe and saying, you know what, I'm Brit, I'm sick, I need medical attention, you have to provide it, that's it. You gave all of that up as a fucking 70-year-old man and thought it would be fine? I mean, just goes to show how you can be old and still be an old fool. Wisdom does not come along with age. This is what I've learned the most about these little anecdotes.
And here's another one of those lives from the Channel 4 documentary.
I don't think Spanish will turn English away because they're quite a big thing for their economy.
It's that same mentality. We're too important to be pushed away, so they won't push us away.
This is something that British people share often enough with Americans. The idea that we're so much better and so much superior to everyone else. No one could possibly ever, reject us, do anything that upsets us. And it's not even that the Spanish government or the Spanish people are rejecting you or being mean at you in any shape or form. It's simply a decision you made on your own terms that has certain consequences. It's like me, I don't know, I just choose to not pay for my internet service anymore, right? I choose to not pay for that anymore. Well, eventually I'll get a letter, I'll get an email, maybe I'll even get a phone call if I say, you know what, I'm not paying you another goddamn cent, and they cut my service. Oh, those bastards at the internet company, they hate me because no, I chose to do something and it has certain consequences. If you chose to leave a system by which you were entitled to a bunch of rights, that's all on you. But the nerve, the egos of these people that were just too important. Well, no, I mean, yeah, it's nice if you're a tourist and you go somewhere and you spend money, but the same rules that apply to you apply to everyone else. If you're not a citizen of that country, no matter how much money you spend, and it's not as if Brits are the ones that spend the most money or the higher quality of tourists. I mean, actually, one of the things we're talking about with my wife and my kids is that you see a huge change. There's a lot, especially in Spain, in the southern parts of Spain, there's a lot more Nordic, people from Finland and some of these Nordic countries. There's a lot more of that in terms of tourism than Brits. It used to be there was a huge majority of British tourists, and now it's a lot less than that. It's mostly the majority would be Nordic country people, which in all honesty, it's usually liked a lot more because they're a little bit more tidy. They don't get drunk and start vomiting all over the place. I know it's not all Brits tourists are the same, but it kind of is. I mean, I know cops that have to deal with this crap all day long, and they will tell you the same thing. It is not the high quality tourism that these people believe themselves to be. So, yeah, and it doesn't apply to everyone, and some people are great and fantastic, and you have awful people from different countries, but it is a known, clear trend. It is something that you kind of know. So the idea that all of a sudden, no, they will give up on their national sovereignty just to accommodate for us because we're just too important, that's the kind of narcissistic deranged mentality that ends up with people actually voting against their own best interests like this old man did.
We just won't pay the members fee and we'll have access to the members club because we're just so important and great. And we heard the exact same thing with the German car industry.
Nobody looking after us or telling us they forgot about the people abroad. I would say 50% of where I live are having to stay for 30 days, then have to go home.
Right.
Half of them haven't got nowhere to go. They haven't even,
but
haven't even got family back home to stay.
You're not an immigrant anymore. You're a tourist.
The thing is just tripping everybody. Instead of making it 180 and 90.
And again, back on the control. Instead of doing it this way, which would suit me well, it's this arrogance that seems to come through all the way through Brexit, as well as the lies that support the arrogance. It's gigantic. It's a waterfall of crap that was obviously thrown through the media at as many people as possible and it's stuck.
What everybody would agree with and think it would be brilliant to do, is people panicking on selling their properties purely because they're going to be away from their properties for 90 days. There's so many rumours going around we don't know. But at the same,
you bought a property. You live in a country that has rule of law. Rule of law says you bought your property, the property is yours. But you're no longer a citizen of this place. You cannot stay here more than 90 days unless you have a job, unless you get a work visa, or unless you do something within the legal frame that allows you to live here. Now you're just a tourist. That's not on Spain. That's not Spanish people being mean or not appreciating you. That's all on you and the choices you made. So you have your house, like so many people, millions of people all over the world that own property in other countries, yet it's a property that you own in another country that is not your own, and you're not a citizen, and you're only allowed to be in your own property for a given period of time. Usually it's what, 3 months typically? Well, yeah, go there three months. I mean, it's not on the Spanish government to worry about what your decisions are. If you bought something in a place that you can only live there legally for just 3 months as a tourist because you no longer have the rights that other citizens enjoy, well, tough luck. Talk about it with your own government. Maybe don't be a dumbass and vote against you. Don't vote so as to have that happen to you, which is the most ironic thing ever.
time, I would love to see a future where we've got 180 days. If I thought what I know what I know now, when I think the same thing now, there's no way would I voted the way I did. Because it's harming me and my future and what I want to do with what time we have left with me and my wife together in this sort of surrounding.
And of course, if you were one of those people that was saying that this was going to happen, you were called someone who didn't support Brexit, didn't love your country.
But you have to expect that. It's politics.
You have to expect that. Dave has to say now, in 2023.
And the 90 days now is very, very in and never get changed. And because of that, people like myself and people, for instance, I mean, they're selling the caravans for nothing because one, they've still got to pay £5,000 or £6,000 rent. They've still got to they've got to tax the car for a year. In £6,000, you're actually staying for now 6 months a year and not a year. So everything's doubled in price for pension. We are pensioners, and don't forget that. So the change for pension.
No one forgot that. I mean, you are the one that obviously forgot that, old man. We all knew you're a pensioner. We all knew you're not someone that is actually working and has 50 years ahead of contributing to the state, and you're not likely to get sick. No, you're a retired 70-year-old sick man that will only be a huge cost to the government, to the money that the rest of the people contribute towards what? Keeping you from dying when you have no obligation to do so? Why? That's something you have to sort out yourself. It's not on the Spanish government to take care of you.
This is nothing you do. It's not worth going. It is not worth buying. It's not worth spending.
Agreed. Go home. Go home.
You might as well, like we are now. We are now going on holidays twice a week, twice a year, as we used to do. So unfortunately, I was wrong.
So nothing's changed. It's complete regret for the Brexit vote. But let's have a listen to Michael Gove, and bear in mind, he's not apologised for this. None of the Brexiteers have.
Even if your home country votes to leave the European Union, all your rights, all your privileges are carried on and are respected. So the one thing I would say to you, and indeed to everyone, who enjoys living and who enjoys the prospect of retirement, which I suspect is many years hence, enjoys thinking about retirement, the one thing is that your investment will be safe and your future will be safe, whatever the decision on June the 23rd.
They're selling the caravans for nothing.
And Gove is challenged on this, and he just brushes it aside.
Sorry, someone like the French government would respect those laws.
They would have to respect those laws.
I mean, someone like the Spanish PM this week has said something completely different about a negative impact on British citizens, which seems wholly unfair.
I
respect the laws of what? The laws of what? Of France? Yeah, the French government will follow their own laws. Yes, the Spanish government will follow their own laws. Yes, and both of them will abide by the agreements they have in terms of the European Union of allowing other members of the European Union to enjoy those same benefits. If you're no longer part of that European Union, you don't have any of that. And if someone is telling you otherwise, they're just lying through their teeth. Maybe, connect the dots and understand why is it that this person is actually lying to you to your face. But if you're just too stupid to understand basic things, well, the only one you have to blame for is yourself.
I agree that there are one or two foreign politicians who have tried to play the fear card in this debate, but it's perfectly clear the legal basis is that if you're ordinarily resident and you've got a legal right and title to a property in another European Union country, then that will be respected and you can enjoy your retirement there, and I hope have the opportunity to come back and
you have your property, you don't have the right
in this
to
country,
reside
and they
there.
can enjoy sharing a holiday with you.
And yet, as you've heard repeatedly, you've heard people say they can't do that.
Look, this is no different from the United States. You can go buy a house in the United States. Yeah, sure. Buy your house in the United States. Are you an American citizen? Well, great. You're not an American citizen and you have a beach house, an apartment, a condo, whatever it is. Okay, you can go visit there with a visa for what, 3 months, is it? Okay, you can go there, stay 3 months. If you stay more than 3 months, it's not that the United States is mean. You're just an illegal immigrant. You broke the law. You broke the agreement that you had, the intrinsic agreement when you went in, the explicit agreement in the letter of the law that says you go into the United States for 3 months as a tourist or on business or whatever the visa you have is, and then you have to leave. The same thing happens when you leave the European Union and you go into any other European country. You don't have the right to reside there permanently anymore, and there's no obligation for the government to provide any kind of health care for you anymore.
That it's now impossible to do that. That they're having to sell up.
But Dave, who bought his Spanish holiday home after voting to leave,
it's incredible,
no longer wants to.
What's the biggest thing you think you've learned that swayed you?
Well, the freedom of movement in Europe, for the proper European to be.
So you want to keep your own freedom of movement, so that you can come back and forth between here and the UK?
Yes, I know it might be selfish, but I think on reflection now, we'd probably vote for, if we had a referendum, probably the other way now.
Vote to remain now?
To remain,
I think you might have shot yourself in the foot a little bit.
Might have done, yes, very well have done.
Jesus
and they're
Christ.
stuck because they've got no family back in the UK to go and live with. That they've got very little money left.
Go back to your country, ask for government assistance. I mean, they're in a way they're making a huge thing about nothing, which is go back to your country like everyone else. You have a country that you have citizenship of. Okay, go back there. You're a British person in France, and go back to UK. You will be taken care of by your own government. I assume they will have some kind of welfare protection or whatnot. But if you, I mean, I really feel pity for people that got caught on this, especially when they were not stupid and knew exactly what would happen. Yeah, sure, that kind of sucks. But for people that actually voted for this to happen to them, I mean, this is like regretting transitioning, and all of a sudden you realize that you made a huge, horrible mistake. Well, it's still all on you.
Because they've had to sell everything for a discounted price. But Michael's all right. He's got his money. He doesn't have to worry about any of these things, does he?
My plans for me and my wife was to not retire, but spend winters in Spain. It's changed, completely changed, because I can still spend the winter.
Yeah, you
in
can.
Spain,
yeah.
But it's the amount of money I made to spend to have that luxury. Where before I didn't have to think of.
Key word, luxury. You want to. This is the ego that sometimes blows my mind. These guys that thought that, I have the right to. No, it's a luxury, sir. That's exactly what you said. It's a luxury. Every year you're taking a 3-month holiday in Spain. Well, you better be able to pay for that. If I want to take a 3-month holiday in London, what? It's going to be free for me, or will it be expensive? Yeah, most likely it will not be free. It will be quite expensive. If I want to take a 3-month holiday in Paris or wherever it is, it's gonna be expensive. It's not a right that I have to every year spend 3 months vacationing.
About that luxury. It was already made for me. Unfortunately, the bubble has burst. There's so many people now selling up in Spain, pensioners who just cannot afford to live there, because the insurance alone for me to travel 90 days and back with my health, it's 2,300 insurance.
Let me know, you guys in the United States, it is still so damn cheap. This guy is complaining about the price of medical care in Spain. Try your luck in UK, see how that goes. Come on, let's be honest here. Try your luck in the United States. A sick old man living in the United States. Let me know how much that would... Guys, let me know there in the comments, for real. How much would it cost for a guy that is 80 years old and has had a heart attack and fucking has a box full of medications? How much would insurance cost for him in the United States?
On top of the 6,000 you're paying rent.
You could actually hear his voice breaking slightly there, as if he was almost tearing up because of the damage. And he was also asked, would he vote Brexit again?
I wouldn't even consider voting to come out of Christ. I would not consider doing it. The simple reason is we was promised.
Who promised you?
It was all about stopping people coming into England.
Oh, so you wanted to stop people from going to England, specifically England, because the rest of UK, right? Let's forget about that dirty Northern Ireland place where I used to live. No, it's about keeping those ugly people we don't like from going to England. But it's not the same when you want to go to another country. You want to have the benefit, the privilege, you want to have the right, the ego of these people. They wanted to have the right to go and live in Spain like any other Spanish person, like any other Spanish citizen, be taken care of, their old ass, sick old ass, being taken care of. I've seen this with my own eyes. Being taken care of like in a silver platter, in spite of being a fucking 80-year-old sick dude that doesn't contribute anything. They wanted to keep that right, but at the same time, not being happy enough with that, they want to stop the Spanish guy that wants to go and work in London, which is a whole lot less than it used to be because of, well, the economic realities that we have now. But it used to be that, yeah, for a lot of people in Spain, they would go and maybe work for a year or two. Full disclosure, most of the people that I have talked about, they would go back after a year or two because of the weather, because of the lifestyle. So it's not as if you're a desperate African that's, jumping into a boat and crossing. No. And maybe the most ironic part of all of this is the people that men like these did not want to see on their own streets, they are still going. What you stop from going into your precious England is the people from Europe. The guy from Spain, the guy from Germany, the guy from France, the guy from Poland. Polish people treated like shit. I've seen that with my very own eyes. You see videos of this all the time. They're discriminated against. They're treated like shit. They're treated like beggars, even though these are young, healthy people that go grow the economy in another country. They're still treated like crap. Insulted, berated, and treated like shit. Now we're running out of truckers. We're running out of people working on the fields. We're running out of everything because you treated people like shit for so long, they don't want to put up with your crap. And you know what? It's not even financially interesting anymore to even subject yourself to that. So, sir, more than deserved, and I have zero pity for you.
Trimming around the edges. It was a stopping people. Our prime ministers and others was telling us all these pretty things, which
it's so deserving. I hope he's already over there. I hope they kicked his old sick ass over there and he's being treated by the wonderful NHS. This pisses me off, the idea that you're happy about going elsewhere and not wanting people to have the same rights, the same right you're complaining about not having anymore. You did not want that for the rest. How fucked up is that, right? Think of it this way, guys. Imagine in the United States, Mexico, you want to go over to Mexico and live just with the same rights any Mexican, but you don't want the guy from Mexico to have the same thing when he goes over to your country. It is, anyway. It just says a lot about how these people specifically think.
We fell for it. It's as simple. I wish I was on the other side.
No, you know what? You were fooled and you were played using your own, what is it, racism, xenophobia, what the hell is it? When you just don't want people from other places, you don't like people from other countries, but you like going to that other country. And you don't want to have that person having the same right you expect to enjoy.
I think Spanish will turn English away because they're quite a big thing for their economy.
Yeah,
Once again,
they need
thanks
us
to
too
my
much.
YouTube and Patreon.
Okay. Anyway, that's the way it is. Lessons here. Well, be smart about where you're going. Understand that paper, that right to reside is crucial. If you have citizenship, if you have the right to live somewhere, you should not take it for granted. Like these people that they took it for granted, and then they understood that once you vote to give that up because you're just enjoying the idea of denying the right of others to reside in your own country, well, that's the best kind of self-harm. You so deserve that. But be smart about these things, and be smart about politicians that play you like a fool. Play your own pettiness. They play that pettiness of yours. We want British for us real white British people. Have you walked around fucking London lately? It looks like damn Afghanistan. There's more signs in Arabic than in English, right? But yeah, let's stop those dirty Polish people from coming over here and doing the jobs that we don't want to do because we'd rather have kids as a 14-year-old child having more kids so as to get a bigger council house. That's the living. Anyway, don't get me started on that. Guys, it's gonna be all for now. See you in the next video. Take care.